You're listening to Menopause Natural Solutions, episode 67, Burning Mouth Syndrome and Menopause. Welcome to Menopause Natural Solutions, your podcast for all things perimenopause, menopause and beyond. Stay tuned as your host, naturopath Jennifer Harrington, explains how to use natural therapies to find your ultimate health and happiness during your transition. Hello there, it's Jen here, and today we're going to be talking about burning mouth syndrome. So full disclosure, this is not something I've ever experienced, but my heart goes out to all the women that I've spoken to over the years who have experienced this. It's a shocking condition and one I hope we never need to speak about again after today. But anyway, I wanted to talk about it because it is something that happens during the menopausal transition. So burning mouth syndrome is also known as Glossodynia or Stomatodynia, and it is a collection of sensations that mainly affects women in their 40s to 70s. It has an increased prevalence 3 years before to 12 years after menopause. Burning mouth syndrome may cause the sensation of, believe it or not, burning, but also pain, tingling, numbness, increased thirst, a metallic or bitter or even a loss of taste, and dryness. Now we've discussed, actually it was even just last week, we were discussing about dry eyes, but menopause causes all kinds of dryness, dry skin, dry vagina, even dry mouth. And in this case, as your estrogen levels are starting to decline with menopause, so does your mouth's ability to produce saliva. And this can be a causative factor in the development of burning mouth syndrome. Estrogen also plays a role in nerve health. Did you realize your mouth is full of nerves? All you need to do is bite your tongue or have a tooth cavity and you quickly realize just how important nerve health is to your mouth. And estrogen is both neuroprotective and neurotrophic, which means that it protects your nerves from damage, and it also plays a role in regenerating nerve cells. So the most common location for the burning sensation is on the tip of your tongue, followed by the lips, then the lateral border of the tongue and the palate. The diagnosis of burning mouth syndrome is a diagnosis by exclusion, as there's no specific test for it. There are many factors potentially involved in its development, and we'll split them up and talk about local factors, systemic factors, and psychological factors. So starting with local factors, the lack of saliva, potential nerve damage, but also infections, so things like candida and herpes. Acid reflux can also be an issue if the reflux is coming up and into the mouth, lichen planus, even things like habits, so smoking, whether you grind your teeth or clench your teeth, allergies and sensitivities. So this could be allergies to things like dentures, to your toothpaste, or even foods that you're eating. Salicylate containing foods are big culprits here, but any food that you are sensitive to can be an issue. A classic salicylate issue causes skin irritation around the mouth, the nose and the lips. It's typically an external reaction rather than an internal issue, but anything is possible. When we're looking at systemic factors, things like menopause, diabetes. Now, type 2 diabetes is the most common cause of peripheral nerve damage, and it's estimated that 50% of people with diabetes will experience nerve pain. Sjogren's syndrome and also some other autoimmune conditions are linked. Nutritional deficiencies such as the B complex, but mainly B12. vitamin D, iron, zinc, magnesium, and certain medications can be a factor. When we're looking at psychological factors, obsessive compulsive over-cleaning is a big problem. Guys, we do need to clean our teeth and we do need to look at it after our oral hygiene, but 2 to 3 times daily. It doesn't need to be every hour or 6 times a day. There is sometimes too much of a good thing. So also we were talking about that alcohol-based mouthwash, even dry your mouth out even more. So look for non-alcohol based alternatives if you really want to use mouthwash. Stress, anxiety, depression are also psychological factors linked in with burning mouth syndrome. Now, here are some other factors that aren't actually causative, but they can aggravate. And this is eating hot or spicy foods, talking too much, smoking, alcohol. Well, we've already mentioned the alcohol mouthwash, but any kind of alcohol can exacerbate it. Now on to the good stuff, the treatment. Now, the first one I'm going to give you with a grain of salt, and that is capsaicin. And capsaicin is a hot pepper. It's a chili. And you're either going to love or you're going to hate this remedy. So please don't shoot the messenger. It is a miracle cure for some, but for others, it's just adding more heat on top of the fire. So it wouldn't be the first remedy I would give a go, but if you're desperate, that's definitely an option. And as I said, for some women, it is the bee's knees. Let's move on. So alpha-lipoic acid, this is one I would try. And it really helps to restore nerve function and decrease nerve-related pain. It's a strong antioxidant, and it may also improve insulin sensitivity. So it's specific for the diabetic-related, nerve-related kind of burning mouth. Now, nutritional therapy. We've already mentioned that there's certain nutrients that can be involved in the creation of burning mouth syndrome. So let's test them. Let's find out if they're low, and if they're low, correct them. So what we're looking at is things like vitamin D, B12, zinc, iron, magnesium, and if appropriate, consider supplementing. Cognitive behavioral therapy has been found to be beneficial for reducing burning mouth syndrome. We obviously want to be well hydrated. So we want to have lots of water and lots of fluids, and we also want to have lots of beneficial oils. Fish oils are also anti-inflammatory as well as being lubricating. We want to avoid any foods that you may be sensitive or intolerant to, and it may be worth playing around with a salicylate-free diet to see if that's a factor. Otherwise, it could be just having a low-sugar diet, a low-gluten diet, a low dairy diet, depending on where your sensitivities are. Some people find herbal medicines useful, and the ones that have got research are turmeric, saffron, and nigella. So guys, I really hope this episode is a waste of time for everyone because no one's out there suffering, but I know that's not the case. We need to talk about some of these symptoms just to increase exposure, to know this can be linked in with menopause. If you are struggling, please do not hesitate to reach out. This is what I'm here for. And if you are enjoying the podcast episodes, you will love my book because it's even more information about menopause rather than just these bite-sized chunks. So my book is called From Invisible to Invincible: The Natural Menopause Revolution. You can grab a copy from my website, menopausenaturalsolutions.com, or you can grab it from Amazon. Anyway, that's it from me this week. Wishing you all a wonderful week wherever you are, and I can't wait to talk to you again next week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Menopause Natural Solutions. This podcast contains general information about menopause. It is provided as a guide and it is not intended to replace medical advice. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please leave a rating and review.